Serving the physical needs of others with dignity and respect while restoring stability, health, and cohesiveness to families is the mission of a unique organization called the Ministry of Caring. Tonight we'll visit Wilmington, Delaware and meet the people who weave together love, labor, and care for their community. Ever wonder who or what a troubadour might be? Well, Father Pat Lavin has the answer tonight on Catholic Magazine.
With your window on your world, this is Catholic Magazine. Good evening, everyone. I'm Paul Pirillo.
Good evening. Welcome back to Catholic Magazine. I'm Pat Shelton.
On tonight's program, we'll learn the works of Catholic Charities USA. We'll learn about the works of Catholic Charities USA as they get ready to convene their annual convention in October in Philadelphia.
Father Pat Lavin returns this season, and he'll take us for a brief visit to the church where he ministers. And later in the program, we'll bring you a story about a very creative and moving AIDS awareness project.
But first, we travel to Wilmington, Delaware to learn the work of the Ministry of Caring.
The Ministry of Caring is committed to serving the ongoing needs of the poor. Food for the hungry, shelter for the homeless, jobs for the unemployed, child care for homeless children, medical services for the sick, and advocacy for the disenfranchised. This statement is the philosophy of the Ministry of Caring Incorporated, located in Wilmington, Delaware.
One of the most magnificent things about the Ministry of Caring is that it's ecumenical, that no one has a monopoly on caring. For example, in our Emmanuel dining rooms, which we have 3, and last year fed 202,000 meals to Wilmington's poor, it was done through the service of 88 churches and synagogues from every major Christian denomination, and the 5 synagogues in town have committed themselves for the last 10 years in providing a meal 1 day a month, 12 times a year. And because of that, it's brought people together. And it's really the poor that brought the Christians together, and the Christian and Jews together, Gentiles and Jews together.
The Emmanuel dining room facilities are manned with volunteers from over 88 churches, synagogues, and civic groups. The volunteers prepare and serve food at all 3 sites, which include Newcastle, Delaware, as well as Wilmington.
At this location, because we're right in a neighborhood, we see a lot of people who are the working poor, people on very fixed incomes, people who are traveling through the city who are hungry, the homeless, men, women who are living on the street, who walk here every day on a regular basis.
This ministry has made more of an impact than any other organization I can think of on the whole city of Wilmington and Newcastle County, because we had 3 dining rooms, 2 in the city and 1 in Newcastle County. And one of the fascinating things is, to me, and one of the disheartening things also, is the fact that these days a little bit different, because we're seeing more children that are going to the 3 dining rooms. And that's sort of a new phenomena. Even during the Great Depression, we didn't see children in lines to get something to eat.
The emergency shelters for women and children, known as Mary Mother of Hope houses, provide housing in times of immediate crisis.
When we first opened here at Hope House 2 9 years ago, we were just here on the 2nd floor. We had 11 beds and 2 cribs. At that time, for every family we were taking in, we were saying no to 7. Brother Ronald then opened up Hope House 3, and the numbers came down. There was still a demand. That's when we enlarged Hope House 2 3 years ago. We now have 23 beds and 5 cribs. We have about 100 women a year go through here with 200 or 300 children. Since we've opened up in September of '83, we've had 765 women through here with about 1,300 children.
Okay, we try to give the women a sense of hope. We try to help them to restore their dignity, and we do this by referring them to different places based on their individual needs for employment, housing, education, health. So they get help in many different areas at Hope House.
The men who need the services of the House of Joseph are trying to cope with life after rehabs, detox centers, prison, or living on the street. The shelter offers dignity and loving support.
The House of Joseph's a shelter for homeless men who are employable or seeking employment. The criteria for them is they can stay here for 30 days, and at times it can be flexible in 30 days. We work closely with our job placement center. We sent the men down there the first day, and they work closely with job placement looking for work. That's the main criteria. We have them first look for work, and then after that they work on their addictions and housing.
At the request of Brother Ron, an inner-city monastery was established to house the Capuchin Poor Clare nuns. The sisters would travel from Mexico to Wilmington, Delaware, to support the Ministry of Caring in its day-to-day activities.
We try to help the poor in our way of life. Like the sister saying, cooking for them the best we can. And also if somebody came at the door asking for something, we try to give them what they request. But above all, we have them always present in our prayers.
Lack of basic health care is a major concern for the poor. The St. Clair Medical Outreach Program, co-sponsored by St. Francis Hospital, brings a custom medical vehicle into the environment of the people who need it the most.
In May of 1990, I attended a meeting of the Christian Medical Dental Society in Chicago, and it was entitled Share the Vision, Healthcare for the Poor. It was all doctors that were doing this. There was not a bunch of professors or, ivory tower people. It was all people who were doing it. I met those doctors, and I was so convicted at that time that I should be doing something for the poor people that I made a commitment to God at that meeting that I would come back to Wilmington and do something for the poor people.
Helping the disadvantaged attain self-sufficiency is the prime directive for the Ministry of Caring's Job Placement Center. The counselors provide a supportive atmosphere to help clients with job search and placement.
What we do is we have individual counseling, and we also have job search classes. In our job search classes, we teach everything about job search interviewing, filling out resumes, filling out applications. What does it take to stay on a job?
The Ministry of Caring has many volunteers, all of them working toward one goal, that the poor should never be treated poorly.
Hearts are heavy, calling out in need, wanting to believe help is on the way. Hands reach out down on bended knee.
As a footnote to our story, the brothers featured in the segment were of the Capuchin order. Up next on Catholic Magazine, a discussion of Catholic Charities USA. Catholic Charities USA is constantly challenged to strengthen families, support communities, and reduce poverty. In 1990 alone, more than 2 million families turned to Catholic Charities USA for help. So it comes as no surprise that Catholic Charities USA, the nation's largest private network of social service agencies, will seek out new ideas for dealing with hard times that are now affecting millions of American families. Here to discuss the work of Catholic Charities USA, as well as its annual meeting in Philadelphia in October, is Maryann Troisi, Administrative Assistant to the Deputy Director for Catholic Social Services. Maryann, welcome.
Thank you.
The annual meeting convenes in Philadelphia in October 9th, I believe.
Yes.
The meeting will take place at the Wyndham Franklin Hotel in Center City, Philadelphia. A wide variety of workshops will take place during this convention in Philadelphia, correct?
Yes.
What are some of the workshops that will be explored during this annual gathering?
Well, during the 5-day period, there will be approximately 35 workshops, which will cover such areas as AIDS and HIV, working with the disabled, working within the parish setting through parish social ministry, also working with single parents and services for families and adolescents. So they'll be covered during that time. Now,
we should mention here that Catholic Social Services is actually playing host, if you will, to Catholic Charities USA, correct?
Yes, it is.
This is the first time, it's my understanding, since 1965 that there has been such a gathering by Catholic Charities USA in the city of Philadelphia, correct?
This is the first time since 1965, and with the permission of Cardinal Bevilacqua, we'll be hosting the annual meeting. The annual meeting will take place over a 5-day period. It will not only cover workshops, but it will include networks, liturgies, a congress, and several receptions.
Mm-hmm. So it's not just all work. There will be a chance. There will be a chance for the delegates to this meeting to get out and see the city of Philadelphia, as well as get into many, hopefully some of the parishes throughout the Archdiocese, to experience what parish life is all about in the city of Philadelphia and its environment.
That's one of the hopes that we have at Catholic Social Services, to highlight some of our services that we have provided to other people throughout the United States. We're anticipating approximately 1,000 people coming to Philadelphia, and it will afford them the opportunity to see some of our services that we do. There will also be site visits during the meeting, which will allow people, if they're interested, to attend Mercy Hospice, one of our shelters for homeless women, or St. Gabe's, which is a system for dependent delinquent youth.
Now, they're coming from all over the country, if you will, here to Philadelphia to participate in this meeting. Can people in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia actually attend any of the workshops? You said there are 35 different workshops that will take place during this week-long convention?
Yes, there will be. Anybody that is interested in attending could feel free to give me a call, and I'd be glad to give them any additional information. But there also will be daily registrations at the hotel, so if anybody should be interested, they're welcome to attend that in that fashion.
All right. If you can give us the phone number, if people are interested in attending, how could they go about getting in touch with you?
My number is 587-3906.
Now, this meeting will actually is taking place in an environment where it's tough out there. It's tough economic times for just one person to balance a checkbook, let alone Catholic Charities USA and Catholic Social Services to provide services for all these needy people. But yet, Catholic Charities USA and Catholic Social Services continues to meet the needs of people out there, regardless of age, sex, gender, religion. Correct? Isn't that the case?
Catholic Social Services here in Philadelphia has provided services to over 273,000 individuals, families, and children during the year 1991. We're all part of that national network of Catholic Charities USA. Catholic Social Services is a member of the national organization, and here in Philadelphia during the annual meeting, all 1,200 members will be sending participants. Also during the meeting, there'll be 3 keynote speakers. Mr. Kuttner will be speaking on the economy. Vivian Wan, who is a Native American Indian, will be presenting a Native American Indian's perspective to
the delegates at the meeting.
Sure. And Joyce Berry, who is the U.S. Commissioner on Aging, will address those issues. So it's a very diverse presentation for those who are attending.
Okay, and we should mention here again the phone number if people are interested watching us in our audience. If they're interested in attending, they can attend any of the meetings by simply calling you at
587-3906.
Okay. There is still much more ahead on this edition of Catholic Magazine. We will take a trip with Father Pat Lavin, who is our troubadour, if you will, on this program. And we'll take a visit with him to his home parish over in New Jersey. So please stay with us. There is so much more ahead on this edition of Catholic Magazine.
Dear brothers and sisters, we must never underestimate the power of prayer.
Can you imagine what a difference it would make if the young people of this country had the same enthusiasm for the voting booth?
We welcome your comments, suggestions, and donations and encourage you to write us at Catholic Magazine, St. Charles Seminary, 1000 East Wynwood Road, Overbrook, PA, 19096, or call us during regular business hours at 668-9842.
Welcome back to Catholic Magazine. Are you getting used to that name yet? That's us. Time now for our very own troubadour, Father Pat Lavin.
Hello, I'm Father Pat Lavin. Thank you for inviting me into your home again, and welcome to Maryann. This is Queen of Heaven Church in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, where I have the privilege of serving as associate pastor. A number of years ago, I was introduced to the concept of the troubadour by Benedictine Father Demetrius Dom of St. Vincent's Seminary in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Demet was a man who wore many hats. He was rector of the seminary, he was scripture professor, he was friend, he was guru. He was the author of a number of articles, and he also authored this book. It's a little book on spirituality of the Bible entitled Flowers in the Desert. The very, very lovely piece. Demetrius once said to me, Pat, he said, all of us are called by Jesus Christ to be troubadours in order to move from town to town and from village to village singing his song of love. And he says, we cannot become comfortable because to do so, we would grow old and our song would grow stale. This song, this telling of the story, is possibly the oldest way of teaching lessons about life and about faith. And so I welcome you here again today to begin again our journey of faith, to look at life with its curse and its blessing, and it's always a combination of both. I'm sure you'll agree with me, at times we feel like nomads caught somewhere between comedy and tragedy. And so it's one person that we may run into who has listening art, who will say one word that will help us to remember all that's good. Years ago, I had the privilege of meeting Francesca Gulli, who was the poetess in residence at Nazareth College in Rochester, New York. Francesca was visiting our seminary in Canada, and at that time I was having a few doubts about my faith, and it was that lady who helped to open up my eyes. And so I wrote her a letter and I thanked her. And in reply, I received a poem that was addressed to me, dedicated to me, and it was entitled For a Letter Received. And the first time it was published, it was in America Magazine. That poem reads, but of course, you have known me all your life, and I, who have met you moments ago, now must explain remembrance of April morning, familiarity of flowers, recognition in a human face. One instant's grace recalling all eternity. But yes, of course, the dawn was pink and red, and petals full and sweet with heaven sent, and so surely I must have kissed you someplace, somewhere, who are become no less aware of the radiance of the sun, and I no less aware than the shy, soft-spoken luster of the presuming moon. And I am pleased to meet you, so pleased indeed, that I would run long miles to somewhere, anywhere, plunge headlong into seas, climb holy stairs and mountains, anything, until I realize I must be only content to sit quite still, and if fortunate at best, make poem or prayer of it. Such is sheer commitment then of beauty, and such must be the acknowledgement of truth, that for a moment's grace recalls all good, that for one single word remembers God. Yes, my brothers and sisters, you and I are called to be troubadours, singing his song of love, and hopefully somewhere, somehow, one word, which is ours, will call another one to remember their God. And so we begin our journey of faith here at the feet of Mary, his mother, who, like our own, inspire their children with imagination and faith. This is Father Pat Lavin. Shalom. Until we meet again, keep on with the song.
And we look forward to seeing more of Father Pat Lavin right here on Catholic Magazine in the weeks and months still to come. Up next, clearing up some of the misconceptions about AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, and how the AIDS message shares a common thread, a thread of hope.
These are just a few of the some 16,000 panels that make up the Names Project AIDS Memorial Quilt. The quilt dates back to 1987 when a handful of people in San Francisco wanted to create a lasting symbol of love and remembrance to friends and family who had died from AIDS. Recently, a portion of the quilt was placed on display at the University of Scranton as part of an AIDS Awareness Week the school sponsored. A committee made up of students, faculty, and staff were hoping to bring home the message that the thousands of men, women, and children who have died from AIDS are not just statistics.
The one thing that they have a statement that says see it and understand, and unless you see it, you cannot understand. You could just think, okay, well, they have a quilt with names, but once you're there and you're looking, like, you could tell what kind of person they were, but just looking at this quilt, and like from the words of their friends and families who've written things on it, you could just totally see what type of person they were. It's as if you see all these people and how their lives were. So it's a tremendous impact. It's something to see.
It takes statistics that are thrown around a lot, and it puts individuals' names behind it. It's a very moving piece of awareness tool, because it's not simply a name, but there are messages written from lovers, from wives, from husbands, from sons. And you really start to get the magnitude that these are people. And this will bring it home that these are people just like you and I, just like our mothers and fathers that have died from AIDS.
Studies indicate that the fastest growing population of people with AIDS is 18 to 25-year-olds, primarily college students. In response, members of the University AIDS Awareness Committee developed this program in hopes of making students more aware of how devastating this disease is and how it can affect anyone.
I've been extremely, I don't want to say surprised, but encouraged by the university's wholehearted backing of this program from the beginning and from the top. And I believe that is one of the messages that they're trying to send, that these are individuals that need our care and compassion, and they should not be ostracized. And definitely the university has sent that message with the bringing of the Names Project quilt and really sanctioning the activities of this whole week, because we have their full support.
We don't want to see our friends getting infected. We want to make sure they definitely know the information, and that they're careful, and that they make the right decision before they put themselves in a situation that they don't want to be in.
Right now, college isn't a very big priority in my life, because this is very important to us, and it's going very
Another
well
highlight
right
of the
now.
University
We may not have
AIDS
the chance to
Awareness
do this
Week
again.
was a talk by 18-year-old Henry Nichols. A hemophiliac, Henry was only 13 years old when he learned that he had contracted the HIV virus through a blood transfusion. Today, Henry speaks to thousands of high school and college students throughout the country about the realities of a disease he knows from personal experience.
Around half the kids in that age group, between the ages of 16 and 25, don't believe you can get AIDS from someone if they look healthy. They think, well, if I just don't hang out or sleep with anybody who looks sick, I'll be safe, because obviously if they have AIDS, they're going to have to look sick, and I won't be able to spot that. They don't realize that someone can be infected with this virus for as long as 10 years and still look as healthy as I do. The second point we try and get across is if you ask any teenager, they know that they're invincible, they're immortal, and they know they're never going to die. They'll never be killed in a car accident, drunk driving, and most of them know they'll never get AIDS because that's just something that happens to other people. They have this sort of not me syndrome that it can happen to anybody else except them, and that isn't true either. And we try and make them realize that it can happen to them if they don't protect themselves.
Another key message Henry tries to get across in his talks is the need for compassion when dealing with people who have the HIV virus or AIDS.
One of the other points you try and get across, more secondary, is that there's no such thing as a guilty victim. A lot of people look at me and say, well, he was 10 years old when he was infected. There was nothing he could do. He really doesn't deserve this. He's an innocent victim. But I make the point, if you say I'm an innocent victim, that implies that somewhere there is a guilty victim, and that you're going to judge people on how they'd received this, how they were infected, through sexual contact, through IV drugs, or however. And that really isn't fair. No matter what you've done, nobody could ever deserve AIDS. There's no such thing as a guilty or an innocent victim.
Thank you for making the trip down.
One of Henry's greatest supporters is his sister Jennifer, who's taking time off from college so she can help her brother spread his message of compassion and understanding for those suffering from AIDS.
His doctors have told him very recently, in January, he was sick with pneumonia, and they said he wouldn't live through the week. And I have to wonder, if I were in Henry's position and my doctors were telling me that I would live 6 months at the outside, if I'd want to spend what could be my last 6 months traveling to other people and trying to reach other people with this message. And I think it's very brave.
Those strangers, the thousands of people who contributed to the AIDS Memorial Quilt, all share a common bond. Each told stories of a friend, loved one, or family member who died of AIDS. But they also share a common hope that one day young people like Henry Nichols will never know the pain and anguish of this terrible disease.
This is more of a sign of hope, that people with AIDS don't have to die. A lot of people say, what's it like to be dying of AIDS? And I say, I'm not dying of AIDS, I'm living with AIDS.
Touching piece, huh, Paul?
Indeed it is.
Yes.
Yeah. We are just about out of time for this show, but before we go, we'd like to remind you that since next Sunday is the first Sunday of the month, many people may be planning on traveling to Marlborough Township, New Jersey, where reported apparitions of Mary are taking place. Bishop John Reese of the Trenton Diocese is urging those who intend to do so to please stay away. These events do not have church approval as authentic and are being investigated by the diocese. The concerns of the church in incidents like this, he said, is to safeguard the faith of the people involved and to be assured that their faith is not being harmed or set at risk.
Word to the wise is sufficient. One more reminder. Relief work aiding the victims of Hurricane Andrew in Florida and Louisiana is being coordinated by Catholic Charities USA through its Alexandria, Virginia headquarters. If you can make a monetary donation, please send checks or money orders payable to Catholic Charities USA Disaster Response and mail them to Disaster Response Catholic Charities USA, 1731 King Street, Alexandria, Virginia. Or if you didn't get that, please call us at 668-9842.
Until next week, I'm Paul Perillo.
And I'm Pat Shelton. We'll see you next week on Catholic Magazine.
Good night.
Set materials for Catholic Magazine provided by Tague Lumber Incorporated, serving the Delaware Valley for over 75 years. And by John Wanamaker, fine stores in the Delaware Valley.